Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our Tech Talks today. This is a Tech Talks that is a result of activity within our door task group. And our door task group is the door outreach, organize, recruit. That's what that stands for. I think I got it right. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more as we go on today. So we're just going to dive right into it. I'm going to start it sharing a bit of information about Fenestration Canada, and then I'm going to pass it over to JF to do some information on NAFs and energy and all things door related. So I'd like to thank OpenJanela. OpenJanela is our sponsor for our Tech Talk sessions. So we appreciate their support and always love it when they're able to do that for us. And I just want to make sure that I've got everybody's attention. Happy Halloween, everybody. So hopefully now you're awake and paying attention. So we'll dive into it here. Okay, so we're going to talk about the door industry in Fenestration Canada. We're going to talk about NAFs for hinge doors, energy performance for hinge doors, safety glazing, and accessibility. Again, all with a focus on the hinge door market. So, where are the door guys? We do ask ourselves that. Participation in Fenestration Canada from the hinge door industry has historically been lower than window manufacturers. Of course, this makes sense because there are fewer that are specifically focused on the hinge door market, but we think that there's more to it than that. So we say, why don't we see more door members? Why are we not engaging with the pre-hangers and the hinge door manufacturers in our market? I tend to point to less code enforcement. I might be a bit biased on that. I spend the majority of my time on the West Coast, and there's no question that the code enforcement on the hinge door industry is significantly less than it is on the window industry. I've actually had building officials say to me that we do not enforce NAFs specifically on hinge doors because nobody can meet the requirements. Well, we know that that's not the case. I can speak from personal experience. In my former life, we had plenty of doors that had great performance ratings in NAFs. But it's simply due to the design and the use of entry doors. They can be more challenging, right, to meet those requirements. So there's maybe less of that going on in the marketplace, and I think building officials have, to some degree, sort of accepted that the compliance on the hinge door side is potentially less, and they'll give some guys a bit of a pass. So what does Fenestration Canada do? We've been around since I think it was 1986 as the CWDMA at the time. But the last 5 years of our association, we've seen a lot of change, significant change that was much different than what Fenestration Canada and CWDMA was previous to that. Stéphane Lebel joined Fenestration Canada, sat on the board for a little while. He was the chair of the Winddoor Committee, and they saw his amazing work with Winddoor and growing that show, and eventually brought him in as the executive director. And he has definitely taken Fenestration Canada on a new trajectory from where it was prior to his joining in that role. We actually now have 5 full-time staff working for Fenestration Canada, as well as a number of consultants. JF, of course, Rich Porieko on the marketing side. Jeff Makamoto participates on the commercial side and outreach to new members, as well as we still have a little bit of work from Al Ugalis, and we get some work done with Jeff Baker as well. So we provide a wide range of activities, committees and task groups, online education like today's activity. We do a number of in-person events. We, of course, have our Winddoor show that goes between Montreal and Toronto every year. We also have an AGM that moves around the country every spring. That's always a very successful activity, great networking events. We do member support, advocacy and codes development, advisory papers, and a lot more that we're going to talk about. So in the West, the hinge door industry has done a good job of advocating or avoiding, minimize the impact of the door industry. And a little bit of I'll go back a few years. The Specifically the wood door guys were very successful in pushing back on the energy performance requirements for solid wood doors. So much so that actually in the city of Vancouver, they actually exempt a solid wood entry door from the requirements for energy performance. So they've been very good at pushing back on some of the requirements on the hinge door industry. NAF's enforcement, again, not as consistent from coast to coast, and I definitely see that on the West Coast. Energy performance is less restrictive when there's no grants in place. And in fact, the energy requirements, and again, here in British Columbia, are different than they are for windows. And even more to that is you can have higher, less restrictive U values as the projects move sort of up the country in heating degree days zones, where you can have one door that's a 2.1, and as you move up the through the heating degree days zones, you can actually get to a point where you could have three doors that can go. I believe it's up to a 2.67, I think. So less restrictive on the energy performance, particularly when there's no grants in place. Obviously, when grants are looking at things like Energy Star performance, those numbers are much the same. We do see an increase in the overall performance by building officials on door systems. It's definitely gaining traction. We're seeing that as there's more discussion on hinge doors in the code level and the code development, and certainly in energy performance as those numbers are ratcheted down. Building officials and jurisdictions are starting to take a harder look at door systems. The codes are taking a closer look. Things like accessibility, door widths, we're starting to see some changes there. Sill heights for accessible access, we're seeing changes coming on that. So there's definitely more attention being paid to the swing doors. Hardware heights changed in the National Building Code. JF's going to take us through that. Safety glazing, again, the widths and the heights we're seeing, and energy performance. There's definitely some changes in that. So with that, JF's going to walk us through some of the NAFs and energy changes and safety class. So JF, pass it over to you, and we'll work our way through it. Oh, sorry, I missed one slide that I was going to talk about. Barry. Going too fast. FenCan has developed a robust support network for the door industry. We created a door-specific task group to engage and connect with the industry. Dedicated staff on codes committees. Adrian Edge has joined us as a FenCan on-staff person that is specifically going to be looking at the codes and the code activity, and very much looking at the changes on the door side and providing advocacy on those changes as they develop. And then, of course, JF has been instrumental in providing key door content via webinars in person. I do want to also acknowledge John Grilly. John Grilly is with us here today, and John is the chair of the door task group that is doing a lot of activity and actions, finding and reaching out to non-members to try and engage them in our group and to get them into Fenestration Canada to participate. The ability to network with door industry colleagues across the country is invaluable. One of the things that I found when I came from the provincial association to Fenestration Canada was that ability to talk to people that were outside of my market area. And those conversations can be much more enlightening and provide a lot more detail about the challenges faced by somebody that you're not directly competing with in your market. So that's a great value when you talk about Fenestration Canada and the national reach. We obviously need more door suppliers and pre-hanger members who will get involved and support the industry as the challenges increase into our next decade. And currently we're offering a 50% reduction in your first year's membership fees so we can show you what we do, at a not too painful cost. And you can reach out to Isabel at fenestrationcanada.ca. She's our member services person, and she can certainly help you on getting signed up and getting you connected to guys like John Grilly and the Door Task Group that works on this content. All right, so there we go. I actually missed a couple of slides. So JF, I'll pass it over to you to move us forward.
Thank you. I'll try to speak as fast as you, but maybe maybe it's gonna be tough for me. So thank you for everybody to be there. We can see more and more people participating in our webinar, the Door Task Group and the Door Tech Talk. So we see there's a need there, and we're happy that John and all his team thought about that. So thank you guys, and thank you for being there. Now we're gonna go into some things that a bit tougher to listen to. That's why they gave me that task. Um, so all those answer are from questions that we receive from our members and from I would say we got info from our team, the code and standard. They follow it, and so we said let's focus on doors and try to get what's the change, what's happening for the hinge door. So just to say, NAF 17 is now referenced in the 2020 National Building Code and the provincial codes under National Building Code. Even with a mistake or an error in the writing of the Quebec Construction Code 22 that we'll see a little bit later. WDMA did a good white paper on the difference between the NAF 11 and 17. Not much for regular side inch door, but dual action side inch doors and exterior folding doors. Now they added the exclusion of locking latching hardware from water testing. So they're covering the hardware, so water won't leak through that during the test, and you have a better measurement of the system. Exterior folding doors added the limited water designation in NAF 17 and 22. Limited water means that doors that are protected by a long overhang or a roof, or they don't have to perform as much as your area asking for in NAF. So uh, I don't know if we use that a lot. I don't think so because anyway, you got the doors to answer your market, and you won't do special system to get into limited water. But if ever it happens, in the the designator, you have to write it like LW side inch door X, meaning that it's a low water, limited water tested with the hardware covered. So that's a restriction in the new code. As we can see in the National Building Code 2020, now it's NAF 17 who's referred there. And just to let you know, we did some calls, and if you have to be compliant on National Building Code, you have to be tested for NAF under 17, or it won't be legit, if I say so. Okay. So now it's now 17. In the Quebec construction, same thing. It's NAF 17 also. But go ahead, Terry. Okay. If we looked at a specific section, we can see that they refer to the supplement to NAF 11. So that's a mistake, I think, in writing. I think Terry made some calls and effectively is going to be corrected. But some people went away with that for now, but now it's NAF 17. Go ahead, Terry. Same thing, but in English, we see it's NAF 17. It was 11 in French. It has been corrected in the English version. Go ahead. Maybe I can turn them or not. Can I?
Probably not.
Okay.
It's okay. I'll try and stay heavy.
No, you're right. Okay. So, okay. As we can see in the National Building Code, it's NAF 17 in the section 9742. But in the construction code in Quebec, it's 11 in French. And if you turn, it's going to be 17 in English. So just to let you know, now they apply the 17. Okay, just for
What,
whoops, a bit
what
fast.
happened there? Yep, sorry.
Just a
But
bit reminder that this is how you can test your door system with the nav. Um, as you can see, if you take example G, you're a bit fast now.
oh, sorry, it's jumping on me for some reason. Sorry.
Okay. If you test example G, you'll cover F, E, D, C, B, and A. But your ratings will be not that good, okay? Because there's a lot of space for air infiltration, water infiltration, and all this. So you have to get into, like I would say, into what your market needs is, and then you can, take the one that will be compliant to your market and cover the maximum. But if you get certified through CSA 440.2, 22, like a lot of you guys did this year, instead of going in FRC, going that path with those with the inspection agency in the United States, and they were able to certify through CSA 440.2-22. What you have to remember is if you test a system like example C, that would be a door and a side light, they will calculate separately the air leakage for each section. So you better test separately, and it's feasible. Uh, but if you go together, what do you do? And I saw Christian on the call, on the webinar. He explained to me, and I'll try to explain as he did. If we got a 1.3 air leakage for 2.4 meters square meters. That's a door plus a side light. Okay. Uh, it will give you 1.4. That's good. So you're passing, you're okay. But if you then take that amount, this 1.4 through the door only, it will give you no, I see 1.3, excuse me, 1.3 for the complete system will give you 1.56 for the door, 7.8 for the side light. So both are penalized in there. So try to have the system test separately. It's possible for labs to save you a bit of money to cover like one part of the sample, like they would cover the door and test the side light, then they undercover the the they take out the coverage on the side light and test the door separately, and then they test the whole system. So then you got different ratings and separate, and you'll be okay. We got some customers in Canada that still have to deal with that. Okay, so yeah, go ahead. Uh, You have to label when you test it under NAF. I say tested, not certified, because you don't have to be certified in Canada. So you can use systems that are developed by components supplier or by your door supplier and use those tests if you keep the exact same recipe when you assemble the system. Uh, any new door installed in a building covered by Part 9 uh, like small building, single family home, townhouse, must carry a temporary performance label. So you have to have the ratings on a label so the inspector can validate that you've tested as per NAF. Uh, like Terry said before, not a lot of inspector are checking that, but they will with the time. Don't worry. Uh, we see on the label the air leakage, water infiltration, structural performance, and you'll see that PG is the how you say that? It's the primary designation. You got the performance grade that will comply to your area or your market. Go ahead. But we make you the task easy. We have a calculator in our on our website. Oh, sorry, it's in French, but you got the same in English. So you can go by province here, and you'll see like Quebec, Ville de Laval, and the height where the product will be installed. Like here, it's 10 meter. 10 meter meaning it's on the third floor, and it's a type of terrain, rough terrain, or uh, oh, what's in English? Terrain découvert. Oh,
Yeah, rough and open.
open terrain.
Yep.
Okay. Open terrain is where you're facing a lake, the St. Lawrence River, when you're high on a mountain, you receive the wind directly on your products. And rough terrain is that you're in the development with a lot of windows around you, or downtown Toronto, Montreal, so you're protected from wind. And then, so you can go there, pick the city, all the markets you do business with, and I mean, and then you can have the performance you need. Then you can build or test the system as that for that performance required, and then you'll be okay. Uh, we had a thought with the check with your test laboratory if you can possibly test NAV 22 and NAV 17 at the same time. You will have two different reports. Be aware that the codes say NAV 17. So if you test today with the NAV 22, you won't be compliant. But you'd be okay for 10 years because when the new building code come in and will refer to 22, you will already have the rating. So maybe the lab can help you making two reports with the two different requirements. Okay. And then you got the two report at the same time. Check with your lab. Uh, that's the best thing to do. Go ahead, Terry. Here's an example of the label you would have. You see, uh, class R, PG30, and the test size is 3679. Why did I put those two together? Is if you want to be able in your market to sell also on a multiple dwelling, still under three level, but they're going to ask you for LC. And see, the size is different, 36 by 83. I don't think it makes a big difference. I'm pretty sure that a lot of you guys, the height is about 82 and 3/4. So going with 83 won't make a big difference. And then the size tested is going to be complying to LC, so light commercial. And you'll see on that yeah, all the ratings. Thank you. If you have questions, don't hesitate. Go on the chat, ask the question, and if we see that, we're going to answer them. Okay. Energy efficiency. We talked with Terry and we said, should we go back to the value? And yes, we have questions like every so and so about what's the U value? I got the R factor. I don't have the U value, whatever. So what's the difference is that the U value calculate the heat lost or the heat transfer through a system, a window or a door, as the R factor will test the resistance of the material. Lots of time we had before, like the door, a full door without any glass, was giving us a R factor of 16, for example. But that's only the center of the door, and it's through that material. We know there's foam in there, wood. So the U value take care of all the differences: the steel, the polyurethane, the wood, and the system around it to calculate the U value. So because it's the heat transfer, the lowest it is, the value, the better it is. And in comparison, the R factor, the higher it is, the better it is. So The U value maximum for Energy Star that you want to go through is 0.21 in imperial or 1.22 in metric. So that's that. But please note that in the calculation, it's funny, whoops, we have learned that in 23. When you would with NFRC says you take the 2 digit after the dot multiplied by 5.678. That gives you the U value in metric. For this example, 0.21 multiplied by 5.678 gives you 1.19. In both cases, you go through, you're certified. But with the CSA path, you have to take 6 digit after the point. So 0.213690 is normally 0.21, but multiplied by 5.678, that gives you 121. See the difference is there. It happened, there's a few items that don't go through with the imperial, but are certified with the metric. So depending what's the path you're using to go through, there's going to be a bit differences. Go ahead.
Okay, we've got a couple of questions. I'm gonna
Yeah.
see if I can do this without. Oh, yeah, Scott was just providing the full value to do that calculation is 5.678263, just
I
for,
know that.
you
Yeah.
know, definite accuracy. And then Rob says side hinge doors that are rated for limited water. You mentioned there should be an overhang for the door system. Is there documentation around the specific geometry for the overhang? It's 4:1. So, and that's as per 927 and the flashing requirements. Certainly in BC, I should probably confirm that for the National Building Code. So if you have 1 foot above your door, you would need a 4 foot overhang. I'll confirm that for you for the National Building Code as well, but I believe that's the case.
Thank you for those comments. Thank you.
Let me just. Okay.
Okay, so we continue.
Yes.
No, George is asking something.
Oh, okay. Just trying to. Okay, I don't see it.
He's able to
Sorry, Terry. I think that the 4:1, that's in relation to whether you need a head flashing.
Right, and in BC,
Yeah.
that's how they
So they take
determine.
that for the whole product.
They actually use the head of the door
Mm-hmm.
To the height of the overhang,
Mm-hmm.
and then a 4:1 ratio.
Oh, so they assume that'll provide protection to the entire product.
Which makes no sense to me at all, because if the
Yeah,
door
you're like,
is 6'8" or 8 feet,
Yeah,
your leakage is typically at your sill. I
yeah,
agree. I'm not
yeah.
saying it makes sense. I'm just saying that that's what the requirement is.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
it's like a
Okay.
door under a carport, right?
Right. Yeah. Okay. I think.
we've got a few
Oh, hang on. Sorry, I got another one.
a few Q&A section.
Yeah. So Brian here is, I guess it's a question. Are you encouraging building inspectors to indeed police the product labeling?
We
Yes.
don't encourage nothing.
I believe that's their job. So I would say yes to that.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Is there another one there? Sorry, I'm just trying to keep track of questions as well here.
Yeah. Do you want me to read them out?
Actually, yeah, maybe if any new ones.
Okay, so we have a question from Robert Sinclair. He says, hello, for side hinge doors that are rated to limited water, you mentioned that there should be an overhang over the door system. Is there documentation around the specific geometry required for the overhang?
Yes, it's a 4:1 ratio. as per 927 in the flashing requirements. What I'll do is I'll try and find him the exact language. I don't have it right in front of me, but I'll chase that down for him.
Okay. And then there's another question from, oh, well, it's not a question. Scott Hanlon says the calculation from NFRC is per NFRC 700.
Yeah.
Got that one. Yep, we're good on that one. Yep. 5.678263. Okay.
So yeah, that's it for now.
That's
If
it.
anyone else has a
Okay,
question,
great.
put it in
Good.
or raise your hand.
Okay, thanks, Isabel. Okay, Jeff. Go
Okay,
ahead.
let's continue. I got some question also on the ER or the energy rating, the ER value. What is the ER? The ER is a formula that take in account U value, air leakage rating, passive solar heat gain. So I thought putting there the equation so you understand. The ER is 57.76 multiplied by the solar heat gain coefficient minus 21.9 multiplied by U in metric plus the rest. But that's the air leakage. And plus 40 to bring it over zero because it would be under zero. So my point here is that look at the weight they put on the solar heat gain coefficient. It's 57, almost 58 times the solar heat gain coefficient. So that's why doors just go by the U value. I got that question a lot because the ER value won't be good with a door. Like if you take the full door, you'll have almost no solar heat gain coefficient, no rating for that. So it makes no sense to think that's why it's the U or the ER. Even with a 2265 that you see on the right, it won't go through by the ER. I've seen direct sidelight going through if they're big enough, and the also the top lights. So that's where we use it to go through because again the IG is the weakest link of a system, so the that's where the U value won't be high enough to go through. That's why they use it. They use the ER for the windows because there's a lot of glass and a lot of solid heat gain. Minimum energy performance, if you want to go to the ER, it's 34. And door qualified by U factor. But in Canada, you still have to label the ER value. That's why there's two different, with the NFRC, you don't have to. You can, but you don't have to. No, you can't. You have to put it, you'll see later on the label. I think we've talked
Whoops.
about that. Okay,
Yeah.
whoops. We've
Okay
talked
with that
about
one?
this one.
Okay.
Okay, here is the CSA PAT. Whoops. You go too fast.
Did I go too fast on that? Hang
Yeah,
on.
go back
Whoop.
one.
Hang on. Yeah, I'm losing. Okay. One more. There you go.
We still have time, Terry. We
Yeah.
still
No.
have Okay, so by the CSA PAT, you got the Energy Star certification mark, of course, the do not remove, performance U value in metric and salary gain and ER value and visual transmitted has to be there, okay? Uh, manufacturers or private labels, brand name, that's of course, and the description of the system, side hinge doors, steel, with wood frame and capped with aluminum, whatever, and the model frame type. That's and also the certification agency logo that helps you get certified with CSA, with the CSA PAT. Next one. Difference with NFRC, as I said, you cannot put the ER value where, whoops, on the NFRC part. That's the bottom part. You have to put it on, if you want to put it on top there, on the Energy Star section. The U factor and any air leakage values must be shown in metric units in addition to the inch pound. So if you want to put the metric, you have to put the imperial value there. Air leakage, it's not necessary to put the rating there. You can put 2- there if you want. So yeah. Go ahead. Oh, I got a question, I think.
Okay.
So there's a question from Steve Jasperson. He's asking for a NAFS PG rating for doors that are not limited water. Water must be 15% of design pressure. However, Canada has decoupled water from DP. Can you elaborate, or design pressure? Can you elaborate?
I will let Terry talk about that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what it says, that the water penetration values and the PG rating are decoupled. So there is no connection to that. You could have, a relatively low PG value with very, very high water performance. It just allows you that flexibility where they're not tied together. To be honest, I don't know where that came from. That was before I was diving into to the standards to that level. But they in Canada, yeah, you can have them decoupled. They are not connected as per the performance listed on your label and your test results. And I did that many times where we would go for a much higher water rating than what we did for our final PG values, simply because of the requirements for water performance on the West Coast. Hopefully that answered you.
Yeah, he said text. Okay, so glazing standards, new and old. CAN CGSB 12.117 safety glazing is now in the National Building Code. And the focus is to minimize cutting injury if a human gets have an impact with glass. The previous dated was 1990, harmonized with the US standard, the NCZ 97.1215, includes organic coated and plastic glazing in addition to laminated, and new classification and label requirements. We'll try to focus on doors, but we still have to talk about that. Is now recognized in the National Building Code, the new safety glazing standard. The code uses safety glazing instead of safety glass that was there before. So you see its reference in the code. Unfortunately, CGSB 12.11 M90 wired safety glazing is still in the code. Wired safety glazing, and you'll see that it has an impact on certain places. Go ahead. So transparent doors and panel glass shall be constructed of laminate or tempered safety glazing and wired glass conforming to wired safety glass. So we see wired glass is still in there. Glass indoors in the sidelight that could be mistaken for doors within entrance dwelling in a public area shall conform to the requirement of Article 9614 that we'll see right after. Okay, so glass sidelight greater than 500 millimeters that, you can be mistaken with door, need to have safety glazing or wired glass conforming, except as provided in sentence 4. Glass is entrance door and dwelling units in a public area other than entrance doors described in sentence 1 shall be safety glazing or wired glass. Okay, so, but we'll see that in certain type of building, wired glass is not permitted. Go ahead. And that's the new section called assembly occupancy. What's an assembly occupancy? It can be a restaurant, it can be a funeral parlor, it can be a library, where people meet, okay, they not allow the wired glass because when you can hit it in a panic or whatever, you can be worse by cutting yourself than the problem curing. Uh, so in the assembly occupancy that's new, there's a difference that where the wired glass is not authorized. Go ahead. Okay, here's an example where you need to have safety glazing. The bottom edge exposed is about 15-25 millimeter of the walking surface. Then you don't have to put safety glazing. And the glazed door opening in a door not wider than 75 millimeters. Like you see on the door in the middle, the glass is so high, you don't need to have safety glazing. We thought, and that's our conclusion, Terry, that it's about the average height of an eye person, 15, 25. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so that's what it is. Yeah. If you have any question on safety glazing, don't hesitate. We'll continue with accessibility. Go ahead. Yeah, that's another thing. The door operating device means of escape must be installed at a height of 900 to 1100 millimeters. Before it was not exceeding 1200 millimeters. So I'm not sure, but I think we're talking about, I would say, panic bar. Is that okay, Terry?
Yeah, so we've actually done some digging on this one, driven by some
Not clear.
member
It's not clear
inquiries.
the way it's written, but
Um, so obviously this can be a challenge for different hardware designs. I mean, even how thick the finished floor is could have an impact on
yeah.
these two numbers.
And
So
where
we've
the lock
actually,
block is also where the lock block is positioned.
yeah, exactly. And if you've got a horizontal rail, when you want to line up your hardware, I mean, there's all kinds of impacts here. Now, when you read the clauses around 9967, it definitely looks to me and others like they're talking about panic hardware type products. We actually have done some outreach, and we did get some clarity feedback from Alberta Ministry of Affairs in Alberta, and they actually believe, and their interpretation is that this requirement applies to doors in a residential, single family dwelling or Part 9 building, and that's their intent, is to enforce that. We've shared the difficulties and the challenges that we believe are there. We are continuing to reach out to other jurisdictions to get their interpretation of where this applies. So it's something that you should definitely reach out to your local jurisdiction and get an interpretation so that you don't get caught off guard if your hardware doesn't fall within these two dimensions. Further to that, we believe that it applies to both the handle and the deadbolt if you have that kind of a double drilled setup in your doors. So it's definitely something that you need to be aware of, and be aware that we are digging into this to try and get some clarity of where it applies and what the challenges are for our industry. So keep in mind that this is a change that could be quite impactful to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. Okay. That's another big challenge. Access to exit doors increased from 800 to 850 millimeter per door leaf. This is the clearance of the door when you open it. And the problem we saw is that when your door doesn't open more than 90 degrees, then with a 34-inch door, you won't pass through. It won't be good. You're not wide enough. to get the 850. Question this morning that on the French webinar was, does it apply in renovation when you replace a door? I don't think so, right, Terry? But
Well, yeah, I mean,
it's tough to answer that. But
yeah,
for
the
new
vagueness
construction, at
around
least it is.
the vagueness around the application of the building code and renovations, it varies, more than just simply the application of the code anywhere. I mean, it depends on, did you pull a permit for the project? Is the building official looking for this? It's very difficult to provide a definitive answer whether or not it would apply in renovation. That said, there are changes coming to the National Building Code that will include renovations to existing buildings. And, at that point, things like this will definitely apply there. You mentioned a 34-inch door. And in fact, I've done, several measurements on different doors to try and figure out what works and what doesn't. And even a 36-inch door, which would typically be a 35 and 3/4 inch slab, at 90 degrees is very, very close to 850 millimeters. So, your tolerances could have an effect here, to the point where you might be 845, and a building official could cause you some challenges with that. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Access to exit doors. Now, this is under part 3, but it is coming to part 9 in 2025. It looks like to me. I don't know if Adrian's on this call or not. He might be able to shed some light on where that's at, but it's definitely a challenge for even 36-inch quote unquote door widths at 90 degrees. When I was doing my measuring of these openings, I ended up at about 110-degree opening to clearly get an 850 millimeter opening. So
Yeah. And does it apply on renovation? I was telling a little story to Terry before we start the webinar, and I remember when I was on retail and a customer called me and he said, "You replaced my windows last year in the basement, and you have to replace them again." It was renovation. The building inspector went to inspect the pool and saw the windows were new on the house that was built in 1960 or whatever. And he asked the owner, "Is that a room downstairs?" And the guy says, "Yes." Well, you don't respect the egress window. So I had to take out the windows and find one that would answer the egress. And at the time was more like the tilt and swing, but I just took the swing, so then it was respecting the size. So it can apply anywhere. And you have an example of what if there's a fire and a wheelchair blocked the door and people die in there, even if it's renovation. I would, be careful for that.
mhm. Quick question from Vince. Is the 900 millimeter lower height of the hardware to the center line? I can't find anything definitive, like a drawing that shows that, but that is my understanding, that it is to the center line of that hardware.
Okay, next one. That's the accessibility barrier free, and that's for again for multi-dwelling, for example. Uh, the pedestrian entrance have to be barrier free now. Uh, so nothing to stop it. We're talking sill here. We're talking the width we just saw. Uh, so any entrance for pedestrian should be uh, clearing, a barrier free, so nothing to stop it. So watch that also for I would say just the sill and the width. Is it clearing?
Okay. There you go.
I think that's it.
Oh, okay, back one up. Okay. Any other questions? That means, okay. It doesn't look like we have any other questions. John, I'm going to invite you in for a sec, give you an opportunity to just maybe talk a little bit about our door task group, some of the activity that we've had, and maybe a pitch to get more participation.
Yes, thank you, Terry. Thank you, Jeff. Great presentation. Our task force group basically started about 6 months to 9 months ago. And basically, as Terry had mentioned, we found that there really was an inordinate number of door pre-hangers or people that were pre-hanging doors that weren't part of our group. So we thought, why don't we put together an initiative to be able to basically get more people in. Membership has its privileges, strength in numbers, all these great cliches, because all the work that we're doing with more people supporting it and lobbying governmental organizations and so forth can only help our industry. And so we have a great group, but we're always welcoming new members to our committee. It's open to anybody. Just please reach out to myself or Isabel or Terry or JF. Scott Stevenson's on this call as well. He's part of it. There's various others. And it's just an open group and just a lot of great dialogue, and any kind of input that anyone on this call or within your various companies has, please make sure that you reach out. We're very open in our dialogue, so please make sure of that. And anybody that's not a member, please take advantage of that 50% off, because that's a great deal to become part of our organization. Fenestration Canada, just the benefits are amazing, the number of benefits. So I thank everybody on this call for taking the time out of their busy days to join us. And I think we all get better by this kind of stuff. So thanks, Terry.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I really want to echo that and really drive that point home, is that, for us to service the hinge door market and hinge door industry, we need the hinge door industry in our group and, sharing with us their challenges, what's going on in the market, things that come up that we can advocate for. Like I said, we have a staffer now in Adrian Edge that actually sits in all the code committees that are developing these codes that are going to impact, the window and door industry significantly. There's a lot of changes coming in 2025 and into 2030 as those codes develop. We can't support you and fight for you if you're not telling us what the problems are. We do have door members and we appreciate them, but as John mentioned, I think that we're missing a lot of door members and a lot of the pre-hanger market and pre-hanger industry to share their challenges with us. So, again, we encourage you to join us. Come to Windor in November. We have quite a number of door component suppliers and door suppliers that are going to be exhibiting there. It'd be a great place to come and make some connections. And reach out to any one of us. We would be more than happy to engage with you and do everything we can to support you in what is a difficult industry. There's no question about it. So I don't see any more questions. I do want to thank JF for. Sorry?
There's a hand up.
Is there?
I think that was from before. George, are you?
Is that George? Yeah, okay. That might be from before. I'd like to thank JF for working on this and putting together the information. Appreciate it. He always does a great job of digging this stuff up. Of course, OpenJanela, our sponsor for Tech Talks. I want to thank them. They're a great sponsor. We really enjoy having them work with us. So I don't see any more questions. So have a great day. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can catch me at terry@fenestrationcanada.ca, jfk@fenestrationcanada.ca, isabel@fenestrationcanada.ca. John, throw your email out there.
John.grilly@odl.com.
There you go. All right. Thank you very much. And hopefully we'll see you again soon. Thanks.
John Terry
Bye.
and John